players returning, looking to claim the title once again.
Yeah, and, you know, we've seen right now our leaderboard's looking very, very nice. In second, we kind of see Benji's team, along with Matt's on Amplify. They performed very, very well yesterday, picking up a massive victory royale from the low ground that we've just saw there, and that was in game 2. But in the top of our leaderboards currently, you know, we've got Teak, Cammy, and Seti as well going in. And these guys have been very, very consistent. They started a little bit slow, but coming into the last 3 games, they ended up being 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. And like I already mentioned a couple times, 3rd is where the big placement points start coming in. So the huge amount of placement points. You can see they are in the top of that leaderboard. A little bit less eliminations, and that's their typical play style. You know, they are those guys who are going to be getting that top placement and put themselves up in the leaderboard, but not necessarily fragging out as hard.
Yeah, great stuff all around, right? I said at the top of the show, exactly what we expected, right? All of the top names sort of in the finals, really showing up, right? Taking a look at some of the players here who, you know, maybe you'd expect to see a bit higher up. Andalex, Snaziak, Squeeze, iDrop, Tayson, Mr. Savage. These are 2 really, really strong trios who, you know, sort of didn't start off the way they would have expected to yesterday. And, you know, now is the opportunity. There is day 2 for a reason. You have a chance now to sort of make up for it over the course of the next 6 games. And we know it's possible because just like we saw with OCE, where we saw Jinx, Worthy, and Alex trio sort of have a bad day 1 and make up for it in day 2, those trios have the potential to do that today.
Yeah, and any teams you're seeing right here, these are not out of the running by any means. Last season, Flick, Anas, and Thomas HD were in the 15th slot coming into the second day. So they were currently where Nico is right now, and they ended the day in 3rd. So anything can really happen in these leaderboards right now, you know, and I think any of these teams who are, you know, they're not currently in the top 10, it's a new day. Hopefully they've reset their mentality, they've slowed things down, they've assessed their weaknesses, and maybe changed up their game plan a little bit. Nothing too major. You don't want to be starting anything new in the second day of the finals. Might not be the time to employ some new strategies, but hopefully they've kind of figured out the mistakes. They come in with a fresh mind. They're feeling good for today, confident, because anything can happen, and these guys can definitely climb back up the leaderboards.
I mean, boys, the tension is in the air. You could farm this tension with a pickaxe for materials. I guarantee it. Now, of course, we know we like to take a look at predictions and kind of talk through which trios we think could be the next FNCS Trios champions. Now, I think what's super interesting here is this is the first time that Reese and Levin have actually aligned on a trio. Reese, why is this?
Because our brains are so big. That's why. Our brains are incredibly massive right now. But you know what? It seems like our picks picking up to be correct because they're currently sitting in 3rd place when we look at the leaderboards. And, you know, Hen, Janice, and Chapix, these guys have been popping off. We've seen Hen in particular hit some absolutely beautiful snipes out of the gate. But, you know, at the top of the day, for me in particular, I picked these guys because there hasn't been a single tournament they've played that they haven't placed outside of the top 5. So if we're going for a prediction for number 1, these guys have been as consistent as it gets. So definitely a top team and showing up to date already in the finals in day 1. And I'm sure they'll do exactly the same going into today.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that can stop these guys, right? Regardless of what zone pools where, these guys seemingly are able to perform, and I definitely expect them to continue to do that over the course of the 6 games today. Shire's gone with Flick and Nastin Thomas, an incredibly strong pick. These guys are sitting in 4th place right now. We saw what they could do in heats, right? They completely dominated their heat, and they're looking to try and maybe sort of have a massive comeback like the way they did last season, right? Last season's trios, you know, came into day 2 sitting in 15th place. They were able to turn things around and finished in 3rd. So they're going to be looking to try and, you know, they're starting from a higher up position this time coming into day 2, right? And hopefully maybe they can sort of turn things around, push themselves, and really be the team to pull away and take the lead. Sancho's gone with iDrop, Tayson, and Mr. Savage. One of the trios who is a top trio. Do not get me wrong. Do not be deceived by the fact that these guys, you know, aren't sitting in the top 5. These guys are a top trio. They had a rough day yesterday. You know, it's going to be time for them to sort of pull something out of nowhere, right? They can't blame zones. They can't blame, you know, sort of things that are out of their control. They've just got to be one of these trios who, regardless of what happens, they're going to be able to perform. And I do believe they have the ability to do that.
This is kind of like an anime in a lot of ways, right? You look across and you're like, oh, here's the main character of the story, I think, or maybe that's the main character. But in every shadow that is cast, some new enemy, some new trio could rise up and say, listen, you forgot about us. Now, I'm very excited coming into the day because we have to remember that this is a finals competition. This is a very tippy top, the 1%, if you will. Now, off of yesterday's performance, we saw Pink, we saw Trulix, and Stompy. They came out super strong with the Victory Royale. They had height, but then the rest of the lobby was like ready to answer, right? And I think that's what we kind of have to focus on. We see height with a lot of games. But when we're looking at that 1%, Reese, a lot of these trios are going to be like, no. Oh, I see you're making a play. We were doing a thing, but that's more important right now.
You know, the issue with Pink's Trulex and Stompy's gameplay yesterday was like they started off so good, right? They had a 10 elimination first place. They took that height early. They were sitting up in that top spot. They felt confident. They did pretty much exactly the same thing going into game two. However, they did not have the ammo to do it. So they were on height. They didn't have the ammo. And then, you know, they placed all the way up until second, which was good, but they get one elimination from height, which is, you know, your average is going to be 5+. So didn't manage to get the refresh on the ammo, so couldn't apply pressure down. And that's when Benji picked up that big, great victory royale moment that they did in game 2. Game 3, they attempted the same strat where they kind of were low on materials and they just played for height regardless. It didn't end up taking it, and Pink ended up going down, and then they ended up trying to go for it a second time during the first moving. So, you know, for this team in particular, it looked like there was a little bit of like kind of one trick. And after those games, we saw them kind of go down the leaderboard a little bit more. So hopefully today they've come back and tried to figure that out. And, you know, there's other teams like Kami, Seti, and Teak who did pretty much the opposite of that, who, you know, started a little bit slow, fixed their game plan, and then in that last 3 games, third, second, and first, just by playing low and mid ground over their kind of typical play style. So hopefully we're going to see all different types of teams like adapt to their situations today.
What do you think, Levin?
Look, I think we're going to see probably much of the same. I think if you look at the teams who were successful yesterday over the course of those 6 games, the teams who were sort of really being able to prioritize and get good position in some of these earlier zones, right? You know, recently I broke it down after a couple of the games where I've seen so many teams on the Storm, man, right? So many teams who aren't getting into zone relatively early. You know, you're sort of rotating alongside another team and there's potential for things to go wrong there. And so, look, who's going to be able to realize, hey, look, nobody was really getting into zone early last time out. Can we be that team to maybe use a vehicle to rotate in quickly and, you know, take advantage of the fact that there's not really anyone taking that sort of initiative? Those are the teams who are going to be successful today.
Oh, man. Well, Fortnite fam, we ain't got to wait that long because it's time. We're boarding the battle bus. Find your seats. We're kicking off the competition in style. We've got Sancho West in his championship gold. It's Shia Wager. You know he's got a floral pattern button up. Let's say hello to our casters. Over to you guys.
It's been an everlasting war this season of the FNCS, and we are now in its endgame. Welcome to day 2 of the finals, and after these 6 games, we'll have crowned a champion in the region of Europe.
It is Shia Wager and Sancho West bring you all the action, breaking it all down. And boy, we have a treat for you. Thank you so much for joining us in Around the World. It is day 2, game 1, and it is time to see who's going to put a big-time effort to move up that leaderboard. I'm telling you, Shia, there's going to be a lot of big names. I think they're going to make some big-time movement here in day 2.
It's all about sending that message that you would not really fall asleep after that 24-hour kind of, you know, shake-up period between days. Instead, Kami and Teak hold their lead in first place. We saw the devs talk about how they've been so consistent over and over again. Sancho, their last 3 games were basically third, second, then first.
Here is their obstacle here in day 2. A lot of their loot that they really bank on, it's not going to be as powerful as it used to be. Now, Reese here talked about Pink. Now, Pink's trio time, but they cause all the other height teams in the region to get down. And the teams like Analex, the team like Thomas HD, the Hens trio, those are the ones that love going for height, and they always get answered with an RPG. So let's keep in mind for that. As well, the change here for Flick, Thomas HD, and us is that Ingram's trio has been contesting them. Let's see if Ingram kind of backed off a little bit because he was not successful going in those pushes.
Absolutely. And if it's your first time just watching competitive Fortnite in general, it's very similar to the main game. It's just a little bit more serious from time to time. So in the early game, it's all about, you know, owning your POI, just like you guys would do in your games. You know, as Sancho mentioned, sometimes another team can come in and cut it off. For Flick, Anas, Thomas HD, it's nice. The only added thing that changes the way Fortnite's played in competitive is Storm Surge. So all these teams will have to go and get damage. If they don't do enough, this magical lightning comes down from above and damages them. So you'll notice after, you know, Chapik's on screen right now with Hen and Janice is done looting. These guys will go out, try to get that damage. That is the name of the game.
We definitely got to take a look at the first zone reveal here. That will determine a lot here as a battle does break out. And it is a battle between Advise Trio and Seti's Trio. Some former teammates here in this battle here is kind of getting crazy. I can't believe that this is kind of breaking out so early. It's just showing you how there is a hole in the Cammy split, and you're caught out in the distance all alone. A trio will push you. It looks like Arthur's trio has made that decision here, and it's up to Teak here to hold on. This is the first place team here, Trial, that is in trouble here in game 1.
It's a 1v3 as well, but everyone is low on the bottom side. Seti will get finished in just a minute, and that could have some big siphon that will not help Teak whatsoever. He has basically a timer to get these eliminations. I'm not sure if that team down below with Advise, Cubics, and Artur has heals. If they do, this will spell trouble. There's a chance here for Teak, Sancho, but I'm not sure if he can honestly do this.
No, it's not looking good here considering that there's no shields. Oh my goodness. Oh, another team is coming in the distance, trying to some shots here. So Teak now using that flopper has one opportunity to maybe hold on. And it's Slender Trio. This is from Retail Row. Retail Row is coming in. They heard the noise and they're rotating in and they want a piece of that action.
Bottom team will go away. Still at the precipice of the podium of EU today. The issue, though, is that his time at first place might be short. Consistency is a very good game plan, but if you fall short in just even one game, your entire tournament result could go awry.
So many adjustments are happening that we will break down as Teak does fall. So essentially what's happened is Kubix has been landing at Pleasant Park for this entire first day 1. And day 2, they had more people visit Pleasant Park.
Wow.
So now they decide to move, and look, this is another adjustment. Reason had a great strategy revolving around pushing Ingram, but now that Ingram has moved, he's going to have to go ahead and push Kinzel there in Coral Castle. And so far, it's not going to work because right now they lose one a trade. 2 trios lose trade. Now Deceptos goes down. Kinzel goes down. Advise, there's some big-time names. Advise goes down in the feed way back below, but let's focus here as Vadil and Noah Riley clean up the mess, and they're going to be able to pick up their other trio, make it reboot them. But look at these, man. It's kind of crazy. Now you see Kibo's trio. There is so many trios here in Salty Towers. Where is Savage's trio? This is their home.
If you guys are wondering why we're surprised and you didn't watch day 1, basically everything's changed in day 2. All the trios you would expect to be in certain places aren't there. There's new players there. Wow. And Sancho, you're using the word adjustments. Adjustment would be like a small wave, right? On the beach that might change a few things. These are tsunamis of change coming in. This is a completely different finals.
Dude, it's like these trios have decided to cannonball. There's no like finesse. There's no like high dive. There's no like small splash. No, they're going for a big time splash because they need to. So the question will be, where is Savage's trio? You know, Cisse's trio, they're the one they went to Pleasant Park a couple times. They dipped into that there at the end of game 6. So it's so fascinating to see how these trios are doing their best. They're making these adjustments. But man, one thing this is going to work for is the teams that have a strategy like Badil's trio.
Yeah, and these guys haven't had that strategy really working out the best for them on the first day. Currently 5th right now on the leaderboard. We would expect them actually to be higher. They could never actually go to fight other people as much because no one wanted to drop around them, Sancho. That's how aggressive these guys are. No one wanted any of the POIs around them. That's why they flopped all the way over towards, Coral Castle, got all that elimination down onto Kinzel, which is unfortunate. And now they have that game plan rolling in that we usually see them in every finals. This means we have an aggressive trio on the field that's not going to stop pushing boxes.
Wow, man, I cannot wait to see how everyone's changing up. We did see in the feed earlier, Pink did go down, get knocked, and it was the Vior trio. So Hydro 16 being challenged. There's so many of the top of the board being challenged, and already the #1 spot going down. We're seeing this battle right here in Lazy Lake. I think Joe is now finally putting into this fray. Joe has been here before, though. Joe's trio has contested Lazy Lake. Blackie's trio hasn't been finding some success out of here. And also, Karma has not found success here. They've been going down early, kind of get wounded going into the 3rd and 4th circle. So this is going to be a big engagement for Legends trio to survive Joe's pressure.
Joe's just outside the top 10 right now as well. That's where we see an increase in prize money as well. It's a huge fight for him. It's just really a 1-point game all across the leaderboard as well. Today, the points are just so close. If you guys missed that format as well, basically 30 placement points alongside 2 points for every elimination, so you can really change and carve the way you can move up the standings and rankings. Still though, it's going to be difficult. These are some of the top teams. If you haven't watched Karma Legends or Aware before either, they're very good at playing off of each other's energy, each other's angles. You'll notice now they're all on that low ground, making sure no one can dive in on one single person. They'll have to challenge all three at the same time.
And this is all adjustments based on bot reviews. It's not about where the storm is. It's just about finding opportunities to get storm surge tags. The whole entire day one, they were doing it by kind of perching up in forts. Now the EU region has decided to let's take us down to some up close and personal box fights.
Now, I know it's called Lazy Lake, but don't let the name fool you. This POI can get very, very active in a few moments. A lot of the people around here like to visit it like a central hub, get a few items, spend some money at the market. And we'll notice it. You see the map right now. A few teams at Caddy Corner, Retail Row. As that happens, though, all the way towards the top right side, Fnatic Lane, Younes and Robnik, who came through from Steamy Stacks, the yellow arrows on the map screen on the top right side of the circle. They're in a long-range fight and still not in the zone.
Yeah, and now my question is, where is Andretta's trio? They were the ones that were always literally by game 6, they conditioned that entire northeast part of the map. There was nowhere you're going to go. They had the north houses as well, all to themselves. Lame's trio literally was nomads. They went all the way down south to Cape Cod by game 6 and got pushed by Andelix's trio there. So they're making adjustments. The same thing with Malibuca. Malibuca went all the way down to Cape Cod as well. They did not like it. They had a fight. Andelix came in and cleaned them all up. So all these adjustments are going to have some, like Shayo said, tsunami-type effects here on the leaderboard. Already mentioned, the #1 spot went down. That's just so huge, Shayo.
Yeah, and the reason I use Tsunami as well is because once it starts, it doesn't stop, and it's always moving forward. It looks like Shizo God is also kind of like a tsunami, the way he's pushing Lame's box. Almost stopping. They have a little bit of a pinch scenario going down right now as well. That's when one person's on one side, the other two are trying to bite from the back as well. Lame can't actually edit out anywhere or find a break. This is troublesome. This is just the first game, and it's already this difficult.
It feels like these trios are connected to the hip. They have so many battles throughout all the type part of the map, and this is the first time they're fighting here. It's unbelievable to see these two trios who are getting up, scrappy up the leaderboard, fight here. And considering last time they fought, they're at Cape Cod.
Yeah, I mean, right now, though, Lame's doing a very good turtle impression, but the shell cracks. Younes finds a way in, shoots him down, and now I think it's a 1v3. Robnik with just 50 HP. Not sure if it's going to be possible. He runs into the storm. He gets sent back to the lobby. Shizo God, flawless eliminations right there. Actually, no, I think they lost one team member, but they'll find a reboot van and they'll be right back in the game.
This is what we're talking about. Day 2 here of the FNCS. Man, so many people want this. Last season, we saw some major adjustments. Thomas HD and Flick and Anas, Mongrel Mutual and Taysom were literally running away with everything. They were putting up some big time point performance. And Thomas HD and Flick and Anas said, that's enough. We're going to go. He vaulted himself. They had a big pop-off performance that kicked them up into the day. With the damage output like Thomas HG, who leads day 1 with 19 elims, that kind of firepower landing at that power position last season was a huge thing. So that's why you're seeing teams make these kind of major adjustments, because a big pop-off performance can essentially net you thousands of dollars and in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Absolutely. And remember these 4 letters as well, because he's been against Thomas HD, EGRM, or Egram, like we like to call him right here. He's going to be going for a quick fight over at the desert. Not inside zone just yet. Mawaka's going to be the last one alive here from Light and Mr. J. These guys all land on the top left side of the map, so they're all finally clashing. Their roadways intersecting here as they try to make it towards the zone. I have one teammate picked up just shortly. The ball is in Mawaka's field. The issue is this game is not fair for him. This is not just a net with 2 teams on either side. It's just 1 man versus basically 3, and you can't win that fight.
No, that's why you're seeing a sanding opportunity here. Maybe the tunnel up, but Kibo says not so fast, my friend. Going ahead and dig right into the sand and find himself an opportunity to convert some siphon and, more importantly, 2 points. Igram's trio is turning around their fate here and with another nice, successful wipe right there as we have some battles. But, man, Mr. J's trio, who started off the day 1 with 0 points and ended the day with 0 points, looks like so far that momentum has carried over into day 2. But they've been really consistent other than that, finishing in the top 10. No no doubt they have it in them to be consistent. But Shayo, this is literally a new slate of play. The meta has changed here in day 2.
Yeah, and I'm like that you mentioned that, right? You're talking about last season's FNCS in general. Now there's no more power in the POIs. As we mentioned yesterday, the power is in the players, the strategies they have. Harpoon, box dive invasions. That's what Awares is trying for. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. What did we see before? We left Lazy Link with 2 teams. Look at the mini map now. We've got the entire Fortnite community sharing 3 buildings.
And Levin must have some telepathic abilities because he said that people will be fighting for center. So no longer people are perched on the edge trying to look for Storm Surge tags. They're using their mechanics up in business. Look at that. So many trios in Lazy Lake dead center. Now we're going to see who's going to rotate to the 3rd zone here to center and set that up. Expect Pablo's trio, expect Trulik's trio, but I do expect many, many more because when they do in heats, they were successful. Like CRR found a lot of success going center early.
It also kind of looks like 2 different gravity fields happening on the map. One pulling everyone into Lazy Lake. And if you remember that map image, another one pushing everyone to the outside portions of the circle. You don't want to use extra max to move in. Material's so important to play the end game. You need them for defense and offense. And now we've talked about Storm Surge. That purple lightning is striking anyone who's playing too passive and hasn't done damage right now. You have to be careful to stay above the threshold. Benji Fishy's team is 195 damage above. That's a very comfortable space. Still, they'll have to hunt for more tags. You can see it dropping down all the way down to 165 already.
And now you're seeing that they were able to get some Storm Surge with Amplify having an elim here. Now you're seeing the points there, that little 2 gold point. That is for the day. We will have a cumulative leaderboards going forward.
Absolutely. So they already got 1 elimination on and Teak go down. They're only about 4 points behind, now just 2 with that elimination as well. So Benji might be able to take the lead off this game. Just have to be careful because today so far what we've seen, Sancho, right, or just in yesterday, Benji going down, sometimes Amplify going down. They have to be careful.
I asked what was going on with Andretta Trio, and look at their loadout. Something must have happened at their drop where they had to retreat and back away. They do not have power. They do not have Surge. They're in shambles, and down goes Andretta. And Revsguard is still feeling that pain of Storm Surge. And I just feel like this trio has always been wounded in day 1, and their rotations have not had the amount of bandwidth that they needed to breathe. Because what ends up happening is these kind of beeline rotations get interrupted by these high-level trios who are making dead side rotations like Hen's trio and things of that sort have sorely disrupted Andretta's run. If you go back to the VOD reviews, they always have a dangerous neighbor on their rotation, sometimes Thomas HD.
Yeah, they're flipping their POIs back and forth as well. It just gets really awkward to have a sound footing when playing the game. Still, though, I'm just watching out for Amplify, Matzo, and Benji. Train H and NRG, the combination. They're basically going to take first in just a few moments. 1 more elim, and they can do it.
And why they've been so successful is because so many teams are fighting for height, and Trulix's trio with Stompy and Pink have been pushing people down with RPGs. And that game plan for Train H, Matzo, Amplify, and Benji Fishy is basically let them come down to us and we will clean them up. And that is what they're being so successful in, is every time a team gets down there, they're in shambles, and they've been rotated in. Like Reese mentioned in game 2, the height team was Trulix's team. They had no way to pressure down below, and that was just the perfect scenario, the perfect storm scenario for Amplify's plan there. He basically was able to wipe out a lot of people down below.
And while these guys are kind of in a hurricane surrounded by other teams inside the top 20, other teams looking to be more aggressive, they'll be the eye in the center trying to play a little bit more passively, trying to not have that much action. On the outside, we just got the perspective of Hen, Chapix, and Janice. They're going to be rotating in just a little moment, but everyone else has the same journey to make. They have a max zone pull, and they're all side by side. They'll be clashing, like rotating tops in a little dome back and forth as they make their way towards the zone.
It's so fascinating to see. Everyone was talking about I getting max pulls and max pulls. Well, because everyone's fighting style is the same. Everyone's comfortable fighting on edge, going for Storm Surge tags on the backside of Storm for late rotations. Now, because of these Storms are kind of pushing so far to the coastline or to the center, you're having a lot of people on that line. And then everybody's, because they're not moving towards center, of course you're going to get max rotational pulls. And it's going to be so dangerous. The 5th zone, things of that sort are always going to be so dangerous because you're always on the edge. We all know center priority will get you those short rotations. And man, Revsguard, he's going to have to clutch up here as a solo.
It looks so sad. He's so lonely. Where's his team? They got to focus on Surge next game, man. I don't like seeing my man by himself so alone. He'll figure it out. Props though to stay alive till that point. No shield.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he can make it through. If you see the numbers on the top left of your screen, 58 players alive, 22 trios still left in the lobby. Once that number of trios hits 17, that's where those big placement points start getting handed out as well. Right now, Benji, Amplify, Matzo in the best position in this entire base right now. They're from the bottom side, just beaming up, clawing up towards these upper boxes, trying to drop down anyone, get more elims and more loot.
Now we're seeing the teams. We've seen Chapix go down the Thomas HD trio. You're seeing that team. Hen and Thomas HD, they're together. They're that neighbor rotation sitting right there. They know exactly that the dead side's valuable, so that's why they're on the north side having this battle. And anyone that invested in the center down in Retail Row, hey, you got to come on back, brother, and come on down to this congested area in Zone 5. It's the half in and half out, half in the safe zone, half in the storm side, and so many people are already dead center here. And Revsguard, holding on as much as possible, just falls right before the placements were almost being doled out. Tough ride right there, but this is what I'm talking about. Janice, Hen, and Chapix. Now Chapix is back to his feet here. 2 elims so far for Hen. Now they're going to have to make this rotation, but I'm thinking because so many people are already there box fighting, they're not going to have an opportunity to hit Janice and Hen and Chapix. This is going to be a very decent rotation, long as someone doesn't turn and hit them, as they do take some tags here.
Always going to be a box watching. You can never assume things get to happen for free, but it's fun to believe. They finally get in, though. This is pretty much for free. It was just one big pot that basically allowed them to make this rotation. But I'm not talking about rotation. I'm talking about overtaking the whole server. Look at Thomas HD. I think he just ate a snipe, but it doesn't matter. These guys have position. And Sancho, when we see this team up top, do they ever drop down?
No, the only time they drop down is the Trulix's RPG comes in. Sometimes you see someone retake height near that 8th zone, but these are the kind of players that know how to execute really well. Now, they're in danger there as you see Blackie. Blackie is a little bit higher. Now, what's going to happen is the zone pulls towards Anas. You're going to expect Blackie to basically kind of leapfrog right on top of them. One bouncer, boom, and they have height. So it's up to Anas, Flick, and Thomas HD to essentially beam Blackie's trio out of the air if that happens here at the first moving zone.
My bad for calling that early. Was sitting slightly very low in my chair, so I didn't get to look too high for Blackie's trio. They even
look
so
way up,
much
brother.
For this. Who gets it though? No one gets it. Everyone has to move.
Okay, everyone has to move. So that bouncer play, that leapfrog is not an option, but they still bouncer essentially all the way to the front of the zone if they want it. But expect that team who is at height right now, Blackie's trio, who's above Noah's, is to basically wait just a little bit longer for someone else to establish a point. Then they'll go and kind of cap right on top of them. But it looks like Erican's going to elect to, he's going to stretch that out a little bit. He's going to stretch that tarp a little bit to give him a little bit more airspace, so to speak, to go over.
Oh my, Naslik and Thomas, they'll get into a fight as the zone starts to move. That's one of the top 5 trios in trouble right now.
Vidil's there.
Blackie, they roll in. Vidil, Noah Riley are following right behind. They can jump right on top. A mid-air RPG. Okay. Noah Riley, you're too dynamic. He doesn't actually get too much off of it, but now that high ground team knows what they have in store. They're still going to push forward straight towards the top. You and Blackie and DKS still hold it down. Another RPG comes in, does not drop them. Noah Riley with a big bouncer, but he gets beamed low on HP. Vidil falls all the way down as well, and now Noah's left in a 1v3.
Man, the battle for height is going to leave both of these competitors wounded. Noah with the RPG now down to 1 HP. Can he hold on? And I think he's going to go for like a last second RPG play. No mats. He does get some breather release reasons right there. Oh no, he goes down. So now it's up to Vidil and Reason to carry the torch, but there's no RPG at play at height, Child.
Yeah, so they got height at a big cost. Janice and Hen as well. Lose Chapix, but this is not bad. This is according to plan. Almost every game, we see this trio operating as just a duo. It's any one of the 2 players, they just end up popping off. I'm not sure why. They have these weights basically attached to their legs to slow them down, but I guess their kicks hit harder. Let's see what they got all the way in the middle of these boxes.
It's basically 2 solo superstars, essentially. They could be apart. They don't need to be together, but they will get necessary, crucial buckets when they need it most.
And there is more duos still alive in the lobby following suit. It's Reason and Vidil up top, Flick, and I believe Thomas down below as well, who are lost with, Anas not being alive. We'll see how these guys can hold it out against trios all around the server as well. Flecken's trio, all alive looking for shots right now. Malibuka's there too. Benji's fishing in the same box as Anas. He's trying to play a little bit of defense. Amplify went down. Flick and Anas right beside each other. They're looking for the shots real quick. Anas, low HP on the bottom right of your screen. Another player right in front of him, that's Snazy. He can't touch the storm at all. It's gonna take him out. He finds a way to stay low, but it's not possible. He gets deleted.
Now it's up to Vidil and Reason here. They're going to have the opportunity to close out this match with the victory royale and a huge elim point here, but they have to do it as a duo. Look at down below. Hen, this is perfect opportunity for Hen to pop off. Can Flick pop off? No, he gets popped instead. Goes down to Snazy, who is a solo hit himself. So that's going to be a big score for Analyx's trio. If Snazy could stay on his feet, these are the opportunities that you could rack up those points you got no business to. We got Kiko's trio in full force down below. Snazy is on the mid ground fighting for his life, trying to hold on as much as possible. Now he has no choice here but being wood builds, and if someone sees him and they get him right down, gets bopped. Hen has an opportunity now to kind of hold on, but I think Reason sees him, and Reason's gonna push down below.
Janice went down too, so one of the biggest threats not available. It's basically almost a full game of solo for Hen, but a full trio alive down below. So 3v2 v1.
Don't count Hen out. He can make a miracle happen here in this game.
Still 10 elims though for the high ground
Miracle
trio.
gone.
High ground 2, the miracle. It's absolutely stopped in his path. Kiko takes a big shot straight to the face. They still have control of low ground. One of the best places to be inside the 9th zone in an end game. Reason and Vidil might have to just drop down into that box. Kiko going for the med kit play. He's trying to go for a mini heal off, so he has enough HP to go for the fight here. Reason and Vidil up top can't actually puncture any builds down below. It's all brick and metal. They'll have this impasse still here for the final seconds.
This will be whoever wins this will be the second victory out here in these finals.
Okay, we'll see exactly what ends up dropping down here in just a second. Still kind of a stalemate between both sides. The dual Reason trying to just puncture these boxes more with shots, with a little bit of piece control, but it's not possible. Reason drops down from the right side, gets Kiko. He gets traded. I think it's a 1v2 now. No, it might just be a 1v1 Slender versus Vidil. Okay, let's see what we got. Big bouncer, big shot, 100, followed by more. Vidil is insane, and he doesn't lose those.
Holy, 13 elims in the big time tracking to get that big shot. Wow, that is what the kind of finish that they have, and they were able to do it with that crazy RPG play, bouncing right over, sneaking up behind Blackie's trio. That's what I'm talking about. That's the action I want here in the finals in day 2, Shio.
5 letters, 1 word, style for Vidil. Woo! That was just absolutely sick from the trio. I don't even think we were watching trios that game. That felt like duos and solos the whole way through.
It did, man. There was so much chaos, so much action, and hey, we could only keep up with what we can. We are going to need the help of the analysts to break it down more. Let's kick it to Zeke.
Yo, Vidil with the massive 100 off the enemy trying to launch pad up, or rather bouncer up, bro. We were just losing our minds, dude. What an incredible start here on the second day of finals. You know you have 6 games ahead of you. You know you're wanting to come out in first. And what better way than to drop 13 eliminations and a VR in game number 1?
Incredible. And one of the things that I think we kind of missed a little bit there was when Resin dropped down behind them at the end, he actually managed to pick up 2 of them, not just 1. Yeah. He managed to pick up 2 of them, making it that 1v1 situation at the end. And man, we kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday when we were looking at the other victory royale that this team had. Aim, mechanics. Like, these guys are winning in those 1v1 situations, and it's clearly proving here today.
Yeah, these guys are phenomenal, right? One of my favorite things about what was so effective for these guys that game, nobody goes down. They're playing as a duo, and, they have so much ammo available. One of my pet peeves as an analyst is when I watch a team, they have, 400 shots available, and they're not taking them. You can't save your ammo for next game. You got to use it in the game you're playing. And these guys had relentless pressure, right? Some of the trios down below would have had no idea that it was a duo above them, right? Because these guys were constantly spraying, applying pressure, and it ends up leading to that victory. Great stuff. Also, congrats to my Portuguese Magnificos, man. Slender and them, great stuff.
Yeah.
They picked up a victory yesterday. They pick up a victory to start off, or not a victory, they get second to start off today. So good stuff from those guys as well.
Yeah, and you don't even need the VR necessarily, right? Obviously, picking up that additional 5 points that separates first and second is going to kind of give you a little bit of a buffer. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much action, and it's so interesting to kind of come into the first day because you can tell a lot of these trios are thinking like, okay, we can't make a mistake. If we do anything wrong here, it's going to cost us a lot. And we see a lot of these teams, even halfway through Reese, we're kind of watching it back. You're like, dude, this is so congested. There's so many trios that are just not wanting to move.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happens, unfortunately, when you have these far side zones. And, looking at some of how these top teams coming into the day kind of took part of that, we saw Cammy's team, Sei and Teak, actually be the first trio to go out in the first game, unfortunately. And, this is what's happened. Teams are adapting. And we saw kind of at this point, Cammy split, very, very split, as the name suggests. These guys aren't landing close together, and teams are capitalizing. We saw Advise's team actually triple land on the Slurp Truck near Coliseum and instantly push into Cammy. They know where he's dropping, and that's an easy elimination. They ended up picking up both eliminations at that point, but unfortunately, both teams ended up going down. So for our first team coming into the game, didn't actually end up playing too well.
Yeah, from first place yesterday to being the first to go down, it's not a great start. Taking a look here, though, Hen, Chapix, Janice, these guys did have a decent game, right, to kick things off. I think they're going to be looking to sort of build on what they just achieved. I think they just got, third place there? So a really good start. Some highlight plays as usual. It's exactly what you expect out of these guys. They are in, amazing form at the moment. And then the VR there, what a shot there from the deal. Great stuff. Take a look at the leaderboard. Changes. This is what happens for Cammy, Sei, and Teak. I talked at the beginning about how there's such fine margins, so much potential for things to change. And with that victory out, Vidil, O'Reilly, and Reason will pull away just for now. Hen, Chapix, and Janice shortly and closely behind them as well.
Yeah, and all of our top three are so close right now. 9 points between the top three going into the next 5 games. But if you notice, all 3 of these names were in that endgame playing as a duo. Shayo kind of mentioned it a little bit, but we saw Noah Riley go down at the top when he's going for height, and he had the rocket launcher, but the boys still managed to pick up that big victory royale. But Hen, Janice were also playing as a duo, and then also they lost Matzo from Benji and Amplify as well. So all duos playing in the endgame and still managing to secure a ton of points. It just shows how good these teams really are.
Yeah, I want to highlight Anderlecht, Snazy, and Squeeze there in 9th, right? They got 4th in that final game there. And so to see, what they can do, they had a great start yesterday. They had another similar-ish start where, they had a really good first game and things sort of tailed off towards the back end. So can they sort of, sustain this level of performance over the course of the next, 5 games? If they can, then I'm sure they're going to push way higher than 9th. But it's all about being able to put that into motion. Keycoat, Slender, and Mosh, that victory out pushes them way back up. They were nowhere near the top 10 when we looked on the leaderboard. Now they are, right? So just one victory, not even victory, I keep saying a victory, they didn't win the game. Just one second place alone, is enough to push you so far up the standings there.
I think you were trying to project onto them. Hopefully these guys are going to pick up that victory royale. They got it yesterday. Their games yesterday were interesting because they were actually battling back and forth between Anderlecht, Snazy, and X-Squeeze. We see Kiko's team landing in Retail Row, and then we see also Anderlecht's team landing down in Kai Corner. So they're kind of opposing Storm Surge strategies, right? They need to fight against each other. But in that game, they ended up actually not. So both performing very well. And you said in that game, they were similar to the first day tomorrow. They started first in the first game yesterday, and 4th in the first game yesterday, and 4th today as well.
Anything goes right now, Fortnite fam. With 5 games left, who will be our new FNCS Trios champion? We're getting closer to find out. But for now, we're aboard the battle bus once again and back into the action. It's Shy Wager, it's Sancho West. Over to you guys.
Champion might be the hardest question to answer because the variables are changing each and every game.
And how chaotic those variables were changed. I mentioned that yesterday, that this kind of formula, it's all set, everyone had it, but literally the entire formula has changed. We're no longer edge fighting here on storms. We're no longer hanging out trying to get simple storm tags from a distance. We are getting in the nitty gritty. We are getting right up in people's grills and trying to get them out of this competition with some aggressive play. Just seeing Advise's trio literally land on Cammy's on that split on one of those trio members, like that in itself shows you how aggressive people are. And for the first time in a long time, Shayo, we may have a zone being up north. And that's going to be spending some great news for Hen's trio, who's been always making these crazy south migrations, right? Finally, they get one in their backyard. So it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to walk away with the victory royale. And one thing to point out, though, is we saw that Hen and Janice were going in there basically in that final movings as basically as duos, right? And what would we say? they will find a way to get some good placement out of that and get some elims. And they ended up in third place, getting all the way to that point. And that's what's been working so well for them. And if you try to do that formula or somebody else, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't make sense. It shouldn't work. But they end up making it work so well.
This is like the one math class that I love because I can actually understand it and follow it through, right? Just expecting good players to play great. I feel like I'm actually at home and now I'm learning. Still, though, for Matzo, Amplify, Benji, that last game, huge for them to take over at first at one of the best positions. They were beaming down below. They get knocked down one tier to third now. They're still kind of in that running. It's just 5 points of a difference. But you have to remember, Sancho, right? When these teams have an opportunity to steal a game over, when they have an opportunity to be the guys controlling the lobby, and they miss it, that hurts because that opportunity doesn't come every single time.
Speaking of opportunities, looks like Lame's trio and Malibuka's trio have decided to see their luck at Steamy Stacks, and I think Andretta has decided to, like, hey, I'm out of here. Now we're going to take a look at the overall scope of things and seeing if there's any other kind of engagements happening. And that middle zone, that is Michael's trio, and they have been doing so well throughout this entire day one. Their success has been led to a lot of smart rotations and taking advantage of those crystals.
Absolutely. Those crystals letting you just jump back and forth. The 0-point crystals, of course, have so much more flexibility. That overhead map shot was just really cool too. You're noticing that a lot of trios are splitting more and getting more, being a little bit greedy off their POIs.
Oh yeah, this is huge.
It makes it look like a beautiful painting though. It's nice. We get art inside Fortnite amongst all the action.
Yeah, Matzo is never really that far off the coast. It's usually Amplify is the one that's that far. Amplify literally sits on the edge and he just fishes. That's how far as he goes. Because you have Paco's team kind of landing in that logjam, but we all been knowing that Paco has been going all the way to center as fast as possible. Those kind of teams that play for center, they're usually there 5 to 6 minutes. It's the teams like Benji's teams and teams like Hen's teams and Vidil's teams. I would say they'd be in their POI for 8 minutes, but it looks like all calm is chill on this POI. For the first time, there is a moment of peace.
No, this is not peace. Have you ever been on like a customer support call before, Sancho?
All the time.
You get angrier the more you have to hold. I guarantee those trios are just, just steaming inside Steamy Stacks, waiting for the fight to break down, pumping up their loadouts. Past that, though, these guys got their call answered. They're at the help desk. Artox, Pizza, and Ardent might not even need a helping hand here. They're looking pretty good in this fight. Ooh. Never mind, reverse that situation. Never mind, double reverse that situation. We're now looking at them just taking apart Vior piece by piece. And in a matter of, 7 seconds, that fight is over.
Vior still haven't found a home in this map. They've been looking all over the place. And Artox, Pizza, and Ardent have coming from Misty Meadows. So they saw someone in the water that they weren't recognized hanging out in their POI and they decided to push them. You're seeing more aggression. You're seeing more people taking up close and personal. It's just such a different type of style. Now, Julix and Charentos, they were landing out there in the Colossal Coliseum in day one. They moved to Pleasant Park at the end of the day. They found some success. There was multiple trios here, but right now they basically pushed out Advisor's trio. And Advisor's trio, like they mentioned, went all the way down towards the harass the Cammy split.
Yeah, this is kind of like, one of those reality TV shows, Life Swap, right? So it's cool to see how these guys are playing in each other's POI
swap, right?
Yeah, POI swap. It's just so different because these guys just leave so early, Julix and company. They just go straight over to a different POI fast. Meanwhile, when we saw Cubics yesterday, he spent a long time there, enjoying the home, cooking some food in the kitchen. You'll notice 2 cars. These guys are gone. Maybe upkeeping metal? Nope, they're skipping that. Toronto's taking snipes at the passenger side. They're looking for more across the map.
And we see Savage just that mini map. Savage is going to his Storm Stats tags part right there, his Storm Search tags part. Savage just talked about he knows exactly where to go. That little mountain that they just passed, that's where Savage is. It's good to see Savage here. What's been hurting Savage's trio is essentially is always somebody in his spots there for Storm Surge. So far, clean right now, looking good. He needs to make some movement here. I think this is his opportunity for that trio to make some movement on the board. Because look at the leaderboard already, Chayo. First place was Vidil's trio, 171 points. Second place, Hen's trio. Third place is Amplify, 162 points. Seti, Kemi, Teak, who got 0 points game one, just slid down to fourth. Not too bad there with 147 points. And Flick and Nos and Thomas HG right on the heels of 141.
I got to message the back end and see if we can support these many points being dropped down by the first place team. We're almost at 200, and including this game, we have 5 more to go. So, I'm not even sure what records are about to be broken inside this FNCS if Vidil, Noah Riley, and Reason get, maybe just 2 more games to do what they do.
There's nothing like a wild card. The wild card just causes so much chaos, and Knifer's trio has been so chaotic throughout the entire day and the tournament total. So far now, they're in another spot. They're contesting Steamy Stacks. These guys have been all over. Maybe they just want screen time. You know what I mean? They want to see some broadcast stage light. And that's a great way to go, is just to go to a different place because the camera's there.
Absolutely. I mean, these guys are just hunting for the fight. It's nice to be dynamic and stay on that north side. You got to remember this game also might be different because this is a very different type of zone. Usually, towards the south, you see the mountains, or we're in the dry desert. Now we're in the lush forests and coves of craggy cliffs, maybe. It'll be more calm. It'll be more calm. But as soon as we tune in with trios like these, Chapix, Janice, Hen, Andretta, Scram, Refsguard, they get a little bit more scrappy. They like taking shots fast and then moving away.
Now we have a zone that is in their backyard. Janice, Hen, and Chapix, they have opportunities where they kind of push up to the north side. They love to get the scavenger route team, so that's why they're making their way towards those houses. We don't know if anyone's there because right now, Knifer most likely rotated down into Steamy Stacks from that area. So if Hen, they get an idea where this trio is, they most likely will push down to here to see what they can do. Because right now, this is that dead side rotation. And Hen, Chapix, and Janice, they love to make those kind of rotations because it works really well for their playstyle. And like I mentioned, day one, all those trios that do dead side rotations, play for height, like the Analyx and the Hens trios, they were just always not getting that 5th zone, or when they did, an RPG will come in and stop them, or someone would really be aggressive for height, like Trulex's trio. So that's what's going to be going for in this day too. Like, what kind of height retakes, or height plays are we going to see? And also, for the bottom of the board, what kind of adjustments they're making in real time. And I'm thinking you're right, Shayo. They want to be aggressive to kind of close the gap with some 2-point elims.
Might be the wave. Could also just be having a good time. It's fun to run around in the grass, right? Like, we've been seeing everyone just held up in boxes. Maybe want to stretch your legs a little bit. Mayhem definitely doing that all the way up in the air. Teams on the other side. Yeah, now everyone's in box mode. You see it happen every game. This is Snap's trio. Snap, obviously, Snasty on your screen right now. Well, stop 10 finishes on day 1. Impressive, but at the same time, it's day 2, baby. Day 1, sometimes the patterns might not be the same.
It's not. It's completely different. Even the gameplay is different. It's unbelievable.
So, very good record overall. Swag down right now. That's Swab. I understand we get the cast and translate at the same time. Players like to get creative.
It's a different language we have to work with. Completely new.
The dictionary does not exist for this language either, so you have to trust us on the calls. Munis and Robnik. Harry first game. Now they're actually in the business inside the circle, so things are looking good. Still now, might be a little bit more of a sandpaper vibe in the desert. Everyone's stopping, not getting to push over the greener pastures. Unfortunate, but that means they'll have a chance for damage back and forth.
Now we're taking a look at zone 2. In the middle of that zone, on that same mountain where I just pointed out, Savage's trio is there. Now they're all together there. They have great vantage points looking for Storm Surge tags all over the place. But now you see Thomas HD and Anas and Flick here coming down from Dirty Docks, seeing all the people, all the action out there in Steamy Stacks here. And this is why it's so dangerous if you kind of just go all in a outer POI fight. Someone's going to rotate and they're going to find you. So this is going to be a huge opportunity to start this match 2 here for Flick, Anas, and Thomas to get some much needed Storm Surge tags. 118 is nice, but I know if they get a lot more than that, they're going to make very passive rotations going forward and have the opportunity to play for height.
Might have to get some water for Flick as well. I think this man might be dehydrated waiting all the way over for that late game. Look at the loadout. It's fully close range. It's fully meant for those box dives and rotations and fights towards that end game circle. But if we're looking at patterns, one of these guys is going to go down. It'll be a duo game, possibly. And that'll be trouble if it is Flick, because that golden loadout looks amazing. Trader, Wishiwashi, and Rax. First time looking in at big FNCS finals performances. they've had some of the most creative fights we've seen so far. Some really good ways to rotate around as well. Their damage threshold looks really good too. Yep, Scram and Chapix ended up fighting as well. And we can obviously see which way that fight went.
It's just simple, man. It's like I mentioned, all great minds think alike. All these players, they kind of rotate the same way. There's valuable rotations. There's efficient rotations. They know exactly where every piece of rock, where every piece of tree is that they could farm, refarm, 0 crystals. And what ends up happening was when you find those valuable, easy, like chill rotations, you're going to find someone else there. It's just the way of the world. That just ends up what's happening here in the Fortnite Island.
It's funny that they're even called 0-point crystals, because every time I see a team use them, they get way more than 0 points. Like these guys, they pushing hard. Past that though, no crystals to eat here. So maybe these guys get left at 0 points, picking a bad fight. There goes Leo down. Right next, the Shizo God. Mayhem comes through to meet him through. They got so many floppers. They took out the heal man of the squad. Chug splashes, floppers, gas canisters, heals. This is huge.
It's almost if Leo was a character and he just held on to all the floppers and he was trying to sell some, but they didn't have any kind of goal, and then they took Leo out. Four floppers total. 3 of them are going to be kind of distributed there. Now we're seeing the zone revealed, and you're seeing, look at this. There are some kind of teams right at Savage's door right there in Belief. Now you're seeing as well. That's Henge. I believe that someone's at center. I wonder who is center on that tree. That's a very valuable mountain spot here, because we all know when in-games get there, it's pretty much it's going to revolve around that little big mound there. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's not Badil's trio there that's fighting right there. And Stompy goes down. So that means once again, Noah Riley, the deal, Reason is going to hold on to that RPG. And we saw it last time. It was a key to their success when Noah Riley going in and full sending it to height to help his team hold on to that. And at the end of the day, get a victory royale.
Absolutely. Sometimes you don't even need that RPG all the way towards the end. Leo down, ZQ and CRR are going to be the ones affected so far.
Oh, no.
Taking a look at it. Oh, no. Big snipe over. If the deal's knocked down, it's not even the snipes. It's Storm Surge coming in. This guy's not going to find anyone to do damage from. Kinzel, I guess, wasn't there this time or didn't want to fight. That's a team all the way near the top that won't be there to stop anyone else.
That's wild, man. Usually Storm Surge for that team is all about pushing people that are on the scavenger route. Egram was the kind of guy that did it. Every time they made those rotations on dead side, they usually unlock that. And Reason's still holding on. He's just doing all that he can. He's going into his heals. He has to survive 3 people here. 3 people have to go down, or if he can hit the snipe of his life here, it could happen. Can Reason hold on? He's going to have his eyes set on the tree on the left. This is going to be a huge opportunity. Does he hit it? No, he doesn't hit it. That's what he needed. He's going to fall shortly. And there he goes, down to Storm Surge. And that's the #1 team eliminated.
173 points. Is basically the lock now. If anyone can jump up past that, it would basically mean that they're in first for the competition. A second chance now for Benji Fishy, Matzo, and Amplify. Another big wave for Janice, Chapix, and Hen to push themselves forward. They're the second place team currently. And for everyone else around, like the Siptos, Kinzel, CRR, Leo, who got rebooted, it's a chance to catch up, not having one of the biggest point hogs alive in the match anymore. CRR finds a pocket of destiny to get these frags and shots in. Not going to be possible for him to connect for any more, though. One flopper here, the whole trio alive behind him, but I don't think this is going to be the best lane to follow. This is a trap that Kinzel's setting. He can turn around really quick and find more beams.
It's usually CRR trio is on the other side. This is not where they like to be. This is not where they like to fight, but you're just trying to get into these box fights out there, and it is kind of messing up their game plan that they're used to. Now you're seeing the lines are not set at the storm line. They're really going all the way out to POIs, and that's what Kinzel's trio did. They literally went all the way up to Craggy Cliffs to kind of third party into some fights here, and when they're able to do that, CRR definitely suffered, but there's still a team on the bridge. I also saw on the feed, Shio, Savage's trio taking out Pablo's trio, because we all know Pablo loves center, and Savage's trio was already sitting there, and they had a box fight, and Savage was able to kind of take out one of those members. We'll take a look if Pablo's trio is one of them still around here shortly.
This is the worst spot for Benji Fishing Matzo.
Oh no,
every single
Benji.
time, every game. Scooped up from the dirt by a shovel of shots from high ground. And now there's no way that these guys can dig back their chances at staying in this game. No shields, no reboot ban in sight. Matzo and Amplify have to operate as a duo. I know they're powerful, but they're so much stronger with Benji at the helm. Moshi's also just pushing right by towards the box. This man has taken out some of the most high-profile teams towards the top spot. In game 1, it was Seti, Cammy, and Teak. In game 2, it's Benji Fishy. These guys are basically bounty hunters running around the map.
It's up to Amplify and Matzo to kind of have that same performance that they had in day 1, game 1. Were they able to get a top finish without Benji? That duo is still strong. We all know that Matzo can make some sound rotations. Now we're taking a look at the rest of the fields here. Let's see who's still up. ZQ and CRR find some way to survive that Stormhold, and now literally without any heals, down to 1 headshot from any kind of weapon basically, and they're out.
It's not survive, it's just delay. That's the operating word. How far
delay
can they get before they're taken
I'm
out?
optimistic. I think they could
I'm
pull a
realistic,
miracle.
man. Like, look at the HP. I'm not in this game, Sancho. I think I have more HP than these guys in total.
Here we go. CRR, we know, has the ability to do something, pull a magic out of his hat and get some beams right there on Wakey. This is an opportunity. You know, if they get a refresh, they're right back in it. Oh, no. It was too much too soon, and the edits come down from Neb's trio. And they just see it. It's just sometimes you can't overcome statistics, Shayo. You're right.
No, it's not even that, though. You're right in the fact that it could still affect the server. It took out Wakey from shields and HP down to nothing. That's going to affect the Siptos and Kinzel's chances, that whole trio, of making it in. Talking about big trios, though. Hen, Chapix, Janice, High Grounds. This is kind of like, what is it, a metaphor for the standings right now. They're basically in first if they make any form of placement. They already have 2 elims, so they're basically tied now for that first place slot, and they're looking down on everyone, making sure no one can touch them on height.
And it was Hen's trio that was sitting at that tree mountain. They were the one there as well, set up early, and they had so many people try to claw away and take height from them. On the rotation from the other side of the center from previous zones, it is Savage's trio, and they're making their way into this fight as well. This is a match they desperately need, in my opinion, to make some moves, at least get some confidence build up, because they do have championship pedigree. Tayson again going for that back-to-back championship. Let's go, boys. Let's get it done.
It's big, too, because they didn't get a chance to fully play out that game number 1. This is huge for them in 2, and they already have 5 elims in total as well.
I'm talking about it. They're here. Savages, he has them cabbages, baby. Let's go. It's in the inventory. You know it's going to be real.
And the inventory could be in the chat. It's always good to give the spirit over to Savage, but still, look who's on height. Got to remember, though, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. If you want to talk about Savage versus Hen right now, if you're on low ground, you might get shot at, get affected, get looked at. It's not going to really affect you the whole way through. You can move, you can adjust. When a team chooses to shoot you down and contest you for height, they're going all in. So it could be troublesome. These guys try to hold everything, but they got zone. That's huge. It's moving over towards the Coliseum. We're foreshadowing a big fight, possibly between 2 teams towards this endgame. Got to remember, too, those walls are indestructible. Not even the Acts of Champions, I think, can break that thing down. So these guys have to be careful and make sure they're higher than those walls, especially all those low ground teams.
I'm going to say something, but just vibe with me, everybody. Not even the mythical Infinity Blade could take it all down. They're not going to have it. That sword ain't going to do it. I ain't going to cut it, dude. They're just too strong right now. That structure is too massive for even that to take it down.
Oh, but Seti going for the revive, not going to be possible for him to have the awareness at the same time to look at the right side of his wall. A second game where Seti, Cammy, and Teak don't get to have a voice. Silenced. Take down to the mouth, and now it's just Teak with no shields. He finds Milo, but can't do anything else.
He could do this, man. Oh my goodness.
He can't do anything else.
Real. He can't do it anymore. I was going to say the sand tunneling could allow him to extend to delay the inevitable right now. But let's take a look at the inevitable. Is the height, is Janice's trio alongside with Hen and Chapix having some extreme dominance right here. And Matzo goes down in the feed to Tayson. Here it is. Savage, Tayson, and Eyedrop here on the low ground. Now with the layer switch, they have an opportunity to get some damage done. Here we go, Chayo.
Yep, they started all the way from mid, dropped down straight below. Just basically ownership of, look at it, basically half the zone. No one can push their boxes from the backside. High ground doesn't want to touch them at the bottom. They have to elevate though. We are going past the Coliseum. We're basically going to be on the wall, on the edge. It has to be the best rotation. Andalex, Snazy, big bouncer to get up as well. You got to be creative with where you're going, but now they're neck and neck with Savage's trio.
Yeah, Savage is right next door. They're on the same layer, but they're going to move up. Andalix is going to tarp up, slowly ramp up, and he may cut off Savage's trio, and they do.
They grab right up top over the leaderboard, 9th place, dropping down. But the people who were just barely ahead / behind of them, they just go straight all the way towards the top. But it's Hen, Japix, and Janice who are still controlling height up to this point. And with this zone, they can really bully anyone who's up on top of these walls.
Question is, there's low ground is out the door now. Low ground, if you fight there, if you're a Matzo fan, if you're a Benji fan, that is out the door. So now it's about the teams who have the experience, who know how to tarp up for height, and that's why Xweez here and Andalik is actually Snazy have an opportunity to hold on. But in these fights, oh no, they go into the Coliseum and it's rotating out of the Coliseum. They may be able to get, oh, I don't think they're going to be able to get out there. No way.
Might be able to from the left side. Snazy has found a way to go around. Pencil up top, low HP. Janice and Chapix look better. Savage all the way on low with eye drop. They're operating as a duo, so is Flecken and Bayon. Stash has his full squad with him. Matt Split, Savage has none, just 3. But the big shots are there with lever action. We'll see Height splitting up the ammo. They're getting ready. They're prepared for the beam down. 7 trios left. We're getting closer to the top 3. That's huge too. Lucky number 13 with players. There's a big beam from Xweez. He gets down Savage. He now has the big guns available to push forward, but Snazy's behind him, merely just a pet with the HP that he has. He can't really touch or do anything or peek out to anyone. It's all up to Xweez to lead the charge over here. Operate with one player basically on the leash. That Harpoon will make sure they can break through. 5 different trios still left alive though.
I can't believe Xweez was able to get out of the Coliseum. They probably went down and made some great layer switches to do that. Merstash is going down here. But the story is Xweez and Snazy here trying to hold on as long as possible. Down he goes, but Snazy's still up. Snazy still has an opportunity to get to the top 3, and that's going to be, oh, Snazy just takes out Janice with a big blast. And Snazy's still fighting for this opportunity to get into it, and he does get into that top 3.
Right now, it's a dream down on low ground to try to be able to survive this very difficult zone. Pretty soon, these guys will have to face reality as Snazy goes down. Yes, the high ground is very real. They've been waiting, barely using mats, and now they're ready. It's a 2v2. Chapix and Hen versus Flecken and Bayon.
Flecken here doing his best to hold on. It's Bayon and Flecken. They had this opportunity. This is where they got into the reboot round along these horns of the Colossal Coliseum. Now, Hen has not had an opportunity to put some max damage out in this lobby here. Now Flecken is taking some damage. Flecken is in. Hen gets it right then. Hits Flecken right down. Gets down and out. Hen is on a tear. Now he's looking for Bayon. He has to find him. Bayon has a lot of health advantage. Down goes Hen. But it's Chapix at height. Can Chapix? Yes! Chapix is able to close the door on that valid attempt there with 8 limbs. But what a great finish for Flecken's trio to get to that opportunity to have a say and to move up their leaderboard with a top 2 finish right then and there. But hey, I gotta say, Snazy coming in and getting that top 3, that was big too.
Yeah, Snazy survived the whole way through. You were surprised. I was surprised. Still, though, it's kind of real when you find out, you know, these guys are kind of sleeping in low ground. They look up to the sun in the sky, and you have Chapix and Hen just dropping down beams. It's impossible to break that spot.
Yeah, you know, I know Hen's trio, they were happy that the Colossal Coliseum was in play, no doubt, because that means most likely to get the victory out. But at the same time, that kind of move up that wall kind of took out a lot of opportunities to send beams down below, because people just basically get kind of caught on that fortifying wall. Wow.
Yeah, and the question is, with Vadil, Noah, Riley, and Reason down early in the game, was it enough for Chapix to take it all the way towards the top in first place? The desk has the answers.
We do have the answers, but you have to wait just a moment. I know. We got to build tension. We got to build suspense. A couple things here. I got to applaud Flecken, Bayon, Diablo, the team that made it through the reboot round, who just missed out on going through the finals. They find that final opportunity, and now they're showing us, listen, we're a trio you need to have eyes on. A second place is so good. But Reese, Hen, Chapix, Janice, even when Janice was down, playing closer to that mid-ground tarp, Chapix, he's like, hey, don't worry. I got you, bro. I got you.
You know, this is this play style we're used to seeing from these guys. Eliminations early and mid game, picking up enough so you don't have to worry about Storm Surge. Then after that, claiming that height early on and just absolutely running away with it after that. You know, they pick up eliminations. I think they ended up with 8 there total. But, you know, one of the things I actually want to look at, you know, we keep mentioning Flecken's team. I was kind of, while we're watching there, you know, my prediction's Hen's team. But at the same time, when I saw Flecken going on and starting to perform there, I saw a kind of flashback from the reboot round. I was like, he has the medkit. He intentionally went into zone to take that one tick in the zone so that he could pop the medkit and go for the heal off. And it looked like he could have ended up playing it. But, you know, let's be real. Hen's team was just too good.
Yeah, great stuff all around. We've both spoken so much about Hen's trio. They've been amazing.
Yeah.
I do want to sort of highlight some of the teams who we mentioned at the top of the show, right? With Analex's trio, they just had another really good game, 3rd place there. iDrop's trio with Tayson and Savage, they had a decent game, 6th place. Now, I mentioned these guys had bad days yesterday. If this is the time now for them to sort of pick things up, get back into a rhythm, then, you know, it's going to get really exciting because I've mentioned how, look, we've had a lot of teams, you know, who we expected to do well, doing well. Those are the 2 sort of teams who everyone expected to do well who haven't. So if now we're adding those guys to the list of teams doing well as well, it's like, it's just crazy. EU FNCS is insane.
And it's crazy, too, just how close everything is, especially when we're coming down to, like, your top 5 trios. When they know, like, hey, we're about to go down, they're still finding opportunities to find additional eliminations, placement, the works.
Yeah, you know what? We were watching Rezon's team in that previous game. You know, this is from game 1. They started off with that big victory royale, and that took them up to the top of the leaderboards. And you know what? This is kind of how it was done. We saw Rezon at that point jump all the way back behind. If you notice, no one's paying attention to him at this point. 2 massive tag shots, and then a 3rd to pick up the other one. So at this point, that is actually clutch. You know, we had to make sure this was seen again because we didn't get to see this from Rezon's PoE. But the fact that he jumped behind them meant that no one was paying attention to the tall. And then we all saw this. Zeke, you were getting hyped about this shot. Vidil picked up a massive shot. 89 HP, and you can see that he actually tries to go for a little mini play, trying to get ahead, but actually ends up hurting himself by going into the zone instead. But he's prepped. Absolutely laser focus aim, picking up Slender in that first game.
Yeah, and Shio sort of alluded to it, but in the next game, right, the game we just watched, these guys actually go down to Surge, right? They went down early, and that did leave room for other teams to sort of have, you know, a great game. Look, we saw going into this, Hen's team was in 2nd place, and that victory royale has a big chance of pushing them ahead, right? And so, how do these guys bounce back now? They just went down to Surge. This is not something we see of them, right? Like, this is not something you expect to happen to Noah Riley's trio. You expect these guys to always be good in Surge, and so how do they bounce back? Like I just said, big opportunity for them to sort of lose that 1st place slot, and they do. Hen, Janice, and Chapix are now starting to pull away. I really wanted to see on day 2 who's going to be the trio to start to pull away. Hen, Janice, and Chapix look like they're the ones to take that initiative.
You know, if any trio is going to pull away, it's going to be our prediction trio. Let's be real, Levin. Come on. And they're absolutely going for it. You know, these guys deserve this slot. Like I've already made, I'm going to say the stat again. I've said it so many times. These guys have been top 5 in every single tournament they played as a trio. You know, I definitely think, honestly, these guys are the strongest coming into that. But we can't kind of overshadow some of the other teams here in the top 5. You know, Amplify, Matzo, and Benji Fishy. Today, you know, the first game, they were 7th with 4 eliminations, and that last game only being 14th with 1. But you know what? They started off some of the other games a little bit hit or miss as well in day 1. So these guys have not been super consistent in every game. But all that kind of suggests to me is that they have the big potential for another massive victory and to jump back up the leaderboards.
Yeah, most definitely. I do want to sort of highlight one thing to watch out for, right? If you're a fan of, you know, seeing how rivalries play out, on that first page there, 5th place, you know, Mexi, Michael Vera, 4th place, Thomas and Nas and Flick. These guys are huge rivals, and so who's going to beat who in terms of finishing in that final place at the end of the 12 games we've had? Who knows? Bayon, Diablo, Flecken there, you saw them in 17th place. That game does sort of help them, you know, get a bit further up the standings. You know, can they sort of get into a position where they can make a bit more cheddar, a bit more dosh? It'll be interesting to see.
Well, man, we'll have to see if you guys' trio can hold on, because if they do, Chapix is going to have to make the trio some secret ingredient soup. But for now, speaking of spicy, we're sending it back over to Sancho West and Shy Wager. It's game number 3 of the FNCS.
Let's hold on to that soup for just a little minute there, because we've got some more beefy action still in play inside the FNCS. That 3rd game or 2nd game just kind of passes on. Now it's really time to get the brass tacks.
Oh, yeah, man. You could feel the pressure is building slowly and slowly. You're seeing big-time reaches to make some movement. And Refsguard is now back into the fray here, looking for this first points of the day. It's just been one of those days for Refsguard's trio. But if their day one performance can show what they can do in day two, they have the opportunity to at least make a say into the top 10.
Absolutely, and right now they're starting things strong. They weren't really, I guess, present that last game at Steamy Stacks. I didn't really see them around. Maybe they left a little bit earlier. Now they're really stock hopping, looking for those shots left and right. It's looking nice, and they've won against Robnik so many times.
Looks like Legend gets an elimination on Pablo. No doubt that happened out there in Holly Hedges. So many more adjustments are happening throughout the entire map. More people are moving, trying new spots here. At this moment, sometimes when you only got 3 matches left to go, Shiloh, you just got to throw it all on the wall and see what sticks.
And now Robnik's sticking straight to the floor. Can't move. Got knocked down. And then we have Vidil moving forward as well. These guys have to be on the hunt today. 100%. Yes. Because last game, it didn't look too good. This game, they're still not finding more. And this is why. Every POI, no one's being flexible anymore. They're really staying in their boxes. They're not over peaking. They're not going towards the right or left side to find anything more. They're just focused on their one-on-one fight.
And here's another one-on-one fight in day one. It went towards Refsguard's trio. I mentioned that they were able to clear out the entire northeast side of the corner, sending multiple trios throughout the entire map here on their own here. And now, clawing their way up slowly. It all begins, man. We've seen it. This kind of format could definitely pop off here. Get a couple things going away. You get a box fight. You get a nice refresher when you desperately need it. Maybe you pull zone, maybe you get to high. All of that's still in play here, but they're going to have to fight in this kind of creative box fighting map they've just created here. Like, did you see that down below? We're talking about metal tarps and everything. Like, let's go, boys. Let's have ourselves a good old-fashioned box fight.
This kind of reminds me of that dance floor all the way back.
Yes.
And what was it, like New Factories?
Yep.
In the last map? Yeah. This is basically the same thing. We're about to start a party.
It's not the kind of party that you definitely want to take if you're Refsguard. It's just going to further delay your rotation. It just seems like that's what happened throughout this entire Steamy Stacks here in the EU finals. You know, championships were born here. You know, Janice and Tayson, they all won solo championships from here, but it just seems to be the opposite here in trios. All the analysts, we always have this kind of conversation like, what's going on with Steamy Stacks? Why can't they produce the same kind of production on the trios base? It's just simply, it takes a long time to end your fight there.
Yeah, and as a result, everyone just kind of, you know, it gets really stuck on the leaderboard. They can't really move back and forth. Speaking of the map, though, right now, bottom right side type zone. So no one from Steamy Stacks will be able to have the freest type rotation. It'll be long.
We have to talk about the kind of day that Kiko's trio is having. They're doing really well. They're in-game. And this zone right here is going to heavily favor them as well. Now we're going to go jump back up to this engagement. Refsguard's getting one. I think that's close to being the wipe, but no, another trio is here to fight. They're here to have some more fun. And I think I have to guess it's actually Boyer. Boyer, who is down in the orchard. I think Boyer now is looking for some Elim points as well.
It's time for round 2. And these guys don't have that much steam left in the tank. Scram just get picked back up. That's kind of huge. But once again, just deep inside this factory, it's so hard to find ways to move around. You have to remember it was the old team who was just here, who had all the control of the walls. Refsguard and Dreda and Scram will have to redecorate and at the same time escape.
And get out of there. This is why these fights take forever. As you see, Boyers desperately try to cut them off from getting from the Steamy Stack. Scram and Refsguard are left behind. They're trying to get in as well to vault themselves over. They have to be careful here because as soon as they try to get out of here, beams from Kluja and Hellfire and Boyer may send their way. And Boyer's one of those teams had a decent start in game 1 as well. Just after that, those rotations from down south from the Orchard were very tough to navigate. They had to go through Colossal Coliseum. They had to go through the Hunter's Haven multiple times. And now they're just, let's make some adjustments and push out the teams that are making late rotations as well. But not by hanging out by the storm line. Let's get in their grill.
And this is kind of a fight at the bottom of the leaderboard. Basically 22nd place for Refsguard and Dreda. And Scram, meanwhile, Boyer all the way down towards 29th. So even sitting up high, yes, these guys have the high ground in game and also on the standings. Boyer will choose not to use aggression to move up, but just smart rotations and pressure. Good choice, good choice. Eximako, Verox, these guys also kind of far from home in a sense.
Oh, yeah.
But now looking like, you know, they're looking to make EU anywhere they land their home. Top 5 right now for these guys cumulatively. 157 total points. They're just 2 points behind Flick and Austin Thomas HD.
And this is a great spot for tags. The Dusty Depot is phenomenal. It's so much value. As you can see, you get so much sight lines for all around the map. At the same time, we saw the Matzo, Amplify, and Benji, who love to do sand rotations. That's how mainly they get around in this area of the map. You could get somebody out. Like Shayo said, dig them out, get them in a lock animation, and get a huge tags and maybe a knock here. So expect Michael's trio here to hang out here for a bit. I'm going to be here for a while, and then they're going to move on. But I got to tip my hat to these boys. They were worried that, you know, Thomas HG kind of booted him out at Dusty. Everyone on social media was like, what are you going to do? Are you going to contest? Especially Verox, man. That was his home. He was born there in this chapter, for crying out loud. And now he, you know, grown up, moved out of the house, moved on down to the butter barn, and finding some success.
Success for them, but not as much as reason for Dylan O'Reilly. Almost going for, I guess, the full gauntlet here. 21 different teams they've had a little bit of a bite from. I hope they can make the full 33 at the end of the day, but have to stay ahead of Surge. That's the biggest thing. That's been their issue so far. Driving around is one of the best options. They're searching around Slurpee all the way from Sweaty Sands. They went north last game, south this one. I mean, there's no one in sight.
And I just love this emote used right here by Vadil, just to be able to not to get a clean headshot. Very cheeky, very smart. But what has been so difficult for them is that their reputation precedes them, and now no one wants to play with them. This is what it is. It is what it is. They have no one to play with now because they don't like to share. They don't like to share points. Again, I'm a dad. Hey, kids don't like to share when they're little. You know, it is what it is. So they're not sharing anything, and no one wants to play with them. We did a look at Analex's trio. They like to do that. If zone pulls on them, in the previous game one, they like to look for storm stacks. They're looking at Lazy Lake. They're looking at Retail Row. Their adjustment that they made was now going down to Cape Cod, trying. Nico's trio loves to make that rotation, that dead side rotation through the coastline. So that's why Analex is down there looking for more time.